we are back. Yes, it's been a while since I made a video, so I don't know if you've been waiting for new ones. You've been disappointed. Today I want to talk about, and I got to hurry because I got a class coming in here in just a second. But today we're going to be talking about what's often referred to as the impersonal say. Okay, now there's technically two different things. There's something called the passive say, and then there's the impersonal say. And I'm not going to delve into too much about the differences between them. Here's what I want to point out. In Spanish, they use this thing called the impersonal say. You may have noticed that the word say is used a whole bunch of times in Spanish. I mean, in a lot of different ways. This is one of the many, okay? They use this when they're trying to de-emphasize or almost remove the subject of a sentence. So they don't want to talk about a specific person doing the action. They want to focus more on the action itself, okay? You may have seen a sign, something like this. Se habla español, okay? And you're wondering, well, why did they put the say up there? They're obviously trying to get the point across that somebody speaks Spanish. Why did they use the say? Well, and this is the precise reason why. They're using the say because they don't want to talk about, each person at the business or at the place that speaks Spanish. They just want to say that Spanish is spoken, okay? They're focusing more on the speaking of Spanish than who is actually doing the action, okay? So that's in a nutshell what the impersonal say is used for. Now, I'm going to be focusing on using the impersonal say in a kitchen setting. Okay, we're going over a unit on kitchen equipment, microwave ovens and saucepans and all kinds of stuff like that, and a bunch of verbs that we use when we're talking about cooking, things like chop, dice, cook, fry, boil, things like that. Okay. Now, in English, when you're watching a cooking show, the chef is going to say, well, you cut 2 onions, okay? They use the word you in here, but this isn't really, this word you is what we call the impersonal you in English. It's not referring specifically to you, it's just kind of referring to anybody who's watching the show, okay? So it's talking to the person on the screen, but not talking directly to them, it's just talking to everybody in general. And that's why it's sometimes referred to as the impersonal you. In Spanish, they use the impersonal say to get, oh, and there's the bell, to use that same idea, okay? So they always start off with a say, okay? And then they're going to use the third person of the verb that they're talking about. Now, third person, that's this guy or this guy. It's the third person singular or third person plural. And what's going to determine whether you use the singular or the plural is the noun that you're talking about. Now in this case, we're talking about 2 onions. Dos cebollas. Okay? Cebollas, that's plural. So notice I've used se cortan for they are cut. Okay? They, plural onions. Okay? We use the third person plural here. If I were talking about 1 onion, not 2, but just 1, okay, then I would say, se corta, all right? It is cut. 1 onion is cut, okay? Same thing if we're using, excuse me, different verbs. Let's say we're using the verb, I'll leave that up there. Let's say we're using the verb to boil. You want to boil the water, okay? Well, we have el agua, and yeah, it's a feminine noun, but it uses the masculine thing right there. Long story. We want to say the water is boiled, okay? Once again, we use say. Now the verb to boil is hervir, okay? It's an E to I stem changing verb, which makes it nasty. So I would say H-I-E-R-V. Now, because we're talking about water, which is considered a singular noun, I'm just going to put the third person singular ending on here. Se hierve el agua. Literally, the water is boiled. Okay? And this is how, in English, we'd say, well, you boil the water. Okay? That's how they would say it in Spanish. Let's try another one. We'll get rid of this one this time. Okay? We want to say you dice or you mince. We're going to use the verb picar. Okay? So se, pica. What are we going to dice up? We're going to dice up 1 carrot. Una. And I'm going to abbreviate zanahoria because it'd take too long to write. So se pica, you mince up 1 carrot. If we were talking about multiple carrots, we had 2 carrots, then I'd have to say se pican dos zanahorias, because now we're dicing, we're mincing 2 carrots. So you see, you always start off with the se, throw in the verb here that you want to use, you know, like dice, mince, julienne, boil, fry, whatever, okay? You're going to use either the singular or the plural, depending on what it is you're working with, what the thing that is being minced or chopped or boiled. If it's a singular item, use the third person singular. If it's plural, if these are plural over here, use the third person plural. And again, this is how you're going to talk about creating a recipe. So you might say something like this. You know, if we're trying to make, we're making pasta, okay? So, se hierve el agua, you boil the water. Se añaden los fideos. The noodles are added. Notice I said se añaden in the third person plural, okay? Se cuelan, you strain them, okay? Se sirven, they are served con salsa de tomate, with tomato sauce, puree, whatever it is that you're going to put on the noodles, okay? So again, this is the use of the impersonal se, and in this context at least, it's very common to the English way where we just say, you do this, you do that, you do this or the other, and that's how we're going to create our recipes. Now I'm going to walk up here and I'm going to shut this off, and hopefully it works.